Good morning, everyone. Thank you for taking out time and coming out to see this presentation. I am Yogesh Gawane, and today I am going to talk about leadership and Indian mythology. But before we start, I would like to make a small request. This presentation is not going to last much, so I would request you keep your mobile phones on silent, and if must, please take calls outside. Before we start, actually, I want to tell you that leadership is always taught us from the Western point of view or the Western model. But when we really look, and in our backyard itself, we have a lot of our ancestors have left out a lot of scriptures and stories to take many lessons from leadership. And why don't we look at it? So that's how I came out to this topic. So before we start, let me give you a quote from a very famous management thinker, Peter Senge, who talks in terms of India's and China's leadership. And what he has to say is that Indian leaders cannot move forward without reconnecting to their heritage. They will have to develop a confidence that they can do as Indians, and they cannot create an Indian version of the Western model. Because Indian model in itself is very unique because it lays emphasis and importance to the human side of the development. Now what does this mean? So we'll see through the different presentation slides now. I've divided this presentation into three parts. First we'll see hunger in leadership and mythological context. Second, we'll see different leaders from mythology and what lessons we can take from them. And third, what an ideal leader should be. So let's move to the hunger part. Now, hunger in crude sense is the need for food or the need to survive. And when we see animal hunger, it is very limited. Animal will hunt or eat grass, whatever is required for him. And when he is satisfied, he will stop. He will keep the leftover. So for animal hunger, it is very limited. They give others what is remaining. But human hunger has different facets. Human hunger we can relate to ambition. Human hunger is not just limited to food, it is also limited to other things like property, bank balance. We crave for status, property, materialistic thing, and infinite possibilities. We can imagine anything. Like today we are at certain position in the organization, tomorrow we want to move to a higher one. So human hunger has endless possibilities. But when we see in mythological context, Indian mythological context, it is the emphasis is laid not only on materialistic hunger, but we should also grow intellectually and emotionally as well. So hunger in Indian context is when we relate to our gods, it is Lakshmi, that is materialistic hunger. Second, Saraswati, that is the intellectual hunger. And third, the emotional hunger related to Durga. Now when we achieve balance of all these threes, then only we can grow as a leader, and we also can develop our followers. So this is the basic concept of hunger from mythological context. Now let's move on to the second part of the presentation, that is leaders from mythology and their traits. Let's start with Indra. Now when we imagine Indra, we see that he is living in a beautiful place called Swarg. Everything is abundant. He has a wish-fulfilling tree, he has a wish-fulfilling cow, he has a wish-fulfilling jewel, but he is never happy. He's always craving for more. He's always chasing Lakshmi, the materialistic hunger. He's always chasing, and he's always under threat. He's very insecure. Whenever a new god or a new demon comes up, and he thinks that he's a threat to himself, he will unleash, or he'll go to war. So that way, he does not want any other leader to come up. He's always thinking about his hunger. For him, his hunger is important. So we see such kind of leaders in our organization as well. There are many such people around us who have come in the organization maybe due to some contacts or maybe some references, but they are not very capable and they don't want competition. They always try to kill the competition, and they are always thinking about their own hunger. Let's see what Shiva can teach us. Now when we imagine Shiva, we see he is sitting in Mount Kailash. It's all ice covered mountains where nothing is growing. Everything is serene. But for Shiva, actually he has outgrown his hunger. That's why he's like this. We feel very serene when we look at him, but he's not engaging. So leader cannot be like this. You may have as an individual outgrown your hunger. You may not have any ambition, but you need to be connecting to others as well, and you need to develop your followers and team members. So he needs an external force like Shakti to tell him, please, you need to wake up and you need to save the world, or you need to support the world. So this is what Shiva is. Now we'll move on to Vishnu. Now Vishnu, for him, your hunger is most important. That means his followers' hunger is most important. He thinks of his hunger later. If you imagine the picture of Vishnu, he is residing on a snake in Vaikunth. He's peaceful, he's observing, and he has Lakshmi at his feet. Very important difference. Like unlike Indra, he's not chasing Lakshmi. He has it at his feet. Why? Because he thinks about others. He develops his followers. He helps others to grow. He helps others to grow in all these three ways: Lakshmi, Saraswati, and Durga. That is materialistic, intellectual, and emotional point of view. For him, world does not matter, but still he enjoys it because he is engaging himself time and again with different avatars. Now let's see a picture of Vishnu. Now when we see a picture of the Vishnu, there are four very important symbols which he is holding, and each can mean something in leadership point of view. First we'll see the conch. Conch we can relate to communication. A leader has to always communicate. Time and again he has to convey his vision, his thoughts to the team, to his followers. Then he has a wheel in one of the hand. That means he needs to review. Whenever there is a situation, he needs to see that the system needs to be changed, so he has to review that. Next, we have mace or the gada. That indicates discipline. Whenever there is a conflict in the team or your followers, you need to step up and discipline them. And of course, lotus, which can relate to appreciation. Appreciation is required. Each follower or team member needs that pat on the back to motivate himself and achieve something impossible. So that's how we see Vishnu has come out as an ideal leader. But we as humans, can we be an ideal leader? I don't think so. Because we as humans, we too have flaws. So when we look from mythological point of view, we cannot be an ideal leader, but we can take some lessons from a principle versus rule matrix, where looking at this, we can mold ourselves in a different type of leadership roles. So imagine a 2x2 matrix, and on one side we have the principle of or spirit of the law or the belief, and on one side we have rules or the letter of the law or the behavior. Now we'll see 4 types of leaders in each of the quadrant and see what we can relate to. Let's go to the very previous era of Ram. Now Ram, he always followed the rule, and he always upheld the rule as well in its true sense, in the belief sense. So but for this he had to sacrifice a lot. He had to sacrifice his family, he had to sacrifice his wife, he had to sacrifice his children. But whatever the rule was, he upheld in the behavior sense as well as in the belief sense. Extreme opposite to it was Ravan. Ravan never followed the rules, never upheld the belief. Your wife, my wife. I will have my toy even if my brothers get killed or whatever it is. I'll do anything. Today we see these examples like alpha males. They can do anything to achieve their ambition or their hunger. Then we see example of Krishna. Now Krishna, he actually bent the rules a lot. But why? But for the benefit of others. So whenever you have to play such kind of role, you can bend the rules, but for the benefit of others, then obviously you can do that. And next we see example of Duryodhan, where he always held the letter of the law. He always held, this is the rule. But in principle, he never followed it. He only looked at the technicalities. When the Pandavas came from Vanvas, he looked at the technicalities. No, 12 years are not passed. There is still. So it was like that. But when a woman was being disturbed, he kept quiet because everybody was looking at the legality. So this is an example. So when a situation comes to us, like if we have to behave in what manner, we can mold in that way. I'll give you a small example. Imagine there are two team members in your team. One who comes at 8, leaves at 6, and other who maybe he comes a little late, but he can stay late. Why? Because he believes whenever there is a project submission, he believes in the principle that he is committed to it. So he will follow that thing. So for him, maybe you can bend the rule and be a bit of Krishna type of leader and bend the rule for him and convey to him, okay, you are committed to your work, but we also need to follow the rules. So this is a small example just to give an idea. With this, I come to the end of the presentation. But before that, what we understood, I'll conclude. So what we can conclude from all this is that leadership is a journey from I to we, and it is not about being just. It is also about being having empathy and wisdom, and it also not about defeating